All right, so this is my first YouTube video version for my podcast in a while. I haven't done this. Oh, there's Sparrow making some beautiful noises over there. I haven't done this because a couple of things. One, I haven't had the time to do it. Been very busy. I know many of you are gonna be like, that's not a great excuse, but I just never had the time to actually sit down and record something and talk to you guys. I've just been so focused on so many other things. I recently moved here to New Jersey. It's currently snowing outside, so I'm watching as the snow flies right by, and there's a window right behind me. So it's a beautiful view, and yeah, I just never did it. Been doing a couple of these walk and talk podcasts that many of you have listened to, but I decided why don't I video it so you guys can see my face and get a little bit more close, and you guys can understand who I am and my mannerisms, all those things that add to the person they are, so you guys can connect better to me. One of the things I want to talk about in this episode, and from here on out, a lot of these will either be stories, insights, thoughts, things that are happening. One that I am very much keen on talking about is this idea I'm betting on the sky. And you're gonna be like, betting on the sky, what does that mean? If you guys don't know, I moved to New Jersey for one big reason, and it's betting and putting all my chips in on the Julian Dory podcast show. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, check it out. I have been saying this from the beginning. Julian Dory show, Julian Dory, who I know very well now, will be one of the biggest podcasts in the world. He will be. There's not a question without it. It's been very frustrating seeing how the community has not accepted him and to everything he's done and how incredible his podcasts are. So I'm kind of baffled by that. But I kind of want to talk about the relationship I developed with Julian and like how that evolved and why I think Julian is going to be the next big thing. So Julian and I found each other on a Lex Friedman. If you guys don't know, he's like an AI. He's one of Rogan's buddies. He's the guy that always wears a suit and tie. We were in one of his comments section on Instagram. And I texted this back in 2020. I think it was in September. And I was just like, does anyone know what equipment I need for a podcast? Hence, look at the equipment I have here. And I never usually do that. I never would comment in a comment section, but I was just like, why not? And then Julian responded, and he responded, be like, yeah, dude, I can help you out. And I just thought, all right, whatever, just some random dude. Like, let's see what he's going to text me. And I get like 20 messages, like 10 links to the exact things I need to start a podcast, as well as like a laundry list of what it does, why you need it, and what it's going to add to your podcast. So I was kind of blown away by this, and I was like, okay, this guy is beyond sweet and super kind. I'm going to give a courtesy listen and listen to his podcast. So I ended up tuning into his podcast and was immediately blown away by first his production, how he set up his entire room, the studio, as well as how he conducted conversations. I'm like, there's no one doing this. He's entertaining, he's brilliant, and he's just got a grasp on the whole how to have a great conversation, how to bring the best out of people, as well as remaining down to earth. So I told him that. I was like, I was blown away. Then, throughout the year, we'd go back and forth text because I had a podcast, and, we didn't know a lot of people in the space. So him and I would go back and forth, and I know he knew some people, but I just didn't. So I'd go to him with ideas. And it got to the point where he then was gracious enough to ask me, being like, would I be ever interested in producing his podcast? And I was like, for sure. Are you kidding me? Like, you're going to be the next big podcaster out there. You have all the qualities it takes. And why would I say no to that? So very much said yes. And as he went from few hundred subscribers to now 382,000 subscribers at the moment of this recording, I watched his first, how he developed, how he took over the podcasting in terms of being creative. He added new elements that no other podcasts were doing. And we watched closely as how other podcasts began to copy that. And that is fact. That is the absolute fact. And the thing that was very frustrating through this process of seeing this, where Julian, one of the things that he does is he is the number one YouTuber for YouTube Shorts. He created these shorts that are cinematography is insane. It's catchy. It flows. The way he always describes it is like, imagine a book. When a book flips, let's see if I have a book around here. Here, this is good work. You see how this book is right here? His videos are like this. Smooth. It's not like And his shorts have done millions and multi-millions of views and views and views. And I was just like, wow, this is insane. I can't believe it. And I was starting to wonder, just being like, wow, this guy's taking off. Like, I wonder how quickly he's going to get to that place where, you know, he's going to get a deal and then it's going to be over. And in the process, I started noticing none of these people that were copying him using his material. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. If someone comes up with a great idea, hence Facebook, you know, there's going to be other companies who are going to try to mimic that and do something similar. That's capitalism. That's great, you know. Being able to do something creative and share with other people and then other people run with it is awesome, because then they create their own versions. However, one of the biggest things I feel like any creator who does that should do is give credit where it's due. And that's notifying, being like, hey, I got this from this person. This person inspired me to do this. I'm going to do this. If I were, let's say, to create a whole YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel is pretty much copying this other YouTuber, and it's self-help, it's development, it's talking the same things, it's doing the same things, I'm living the life similarly, I'm doing all these things, you would think at some point I would come forward and be like, yeah, this person inspires me. I give credit to that person because they've gone into me to make me want to do this. But in his case, none of these other big name podcasts have done that. And I've been incredibly frustrated. I won't speak for him. Julian is a very, very modest guy, and he just works his ass off and he keeps going. But I'm frustrated by the fact that nobody recognizes him and nobody does the due diligence to be like, hey, yep, I copied that. I use that video format. This guy's great. Go check this guy out. Or on the other hand, which is another very interesting point, is because his videos do millions and millions of views. Obviously, these guests he brings in are phenomenal, and there's such great stories and great conversations that other podcasts are going to want that person, and that's great. Bring that person onto the podcast. Expose them, whether it be something like Vet Paul, Ryan Tate, and him doing things in Africa where he's saving rhinos and elephants from poachers. That's amazing. We need more of that. Or would it be Paul Rosley in the Amazon, who's doing the same thing in the Amazon, trying to keep it intact, trying to save it from these people that are trying to destroy it? Great. Or ufologists like James Fox. These are amazing, entertaining, and great guests. But the issue to me is when you bring these guests on and, you know, let's say it's somebody that's not as known or where you got it from, it would be great to shout them out, right? Like, let's say that, you know, when this is a great example is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is the king of this. Whenever he brings someone on, he's like, yeah, I found this from this person. Oh my God, I listened to this podcast, found that guest, and I decided to take them and thought, why not? Shout out to the podcast. Shout out to this person. Shout out to that. You hear it all the time on Rogan. Other podcasts, they do the same. However, a lot of the podcasts that have been modeling after Julian, imagine, are massive platforms. I'm not going to say any names here because that doesn't need to be done. It's more of the principle of what I'm talking about, is that they're not giving the credit where it's due. And they realize that that credit can impact that individual, can impact Julian Dory, can get him out of his parents' home, can get him the studio setup he wanted, to finally be able to take care of his health, to do all these things he's been wanting to do, but he's been locked down for 3 years in his parents' house trying to build this podcast. And a little one of those shout outs could literally change his life. But many of these people don't do it, and I don't know what it is. And you can argue with me whether you believe you should shout out and give credit to these other people when they come up. But when it's someone's livelihood and you recognize that they're doing great, amazing content, but it's not getting the push out there because they're still growing, you know, it takes time to grow. But if you could help that, why wouldn't you help that? That's my question. It's like, why wouldn't you want to see that person succeed and do something amazing with that? And I think a lot of it comes down to just insecurity and a little jealousy. You know, if there's this guy that's on the come up and who's charismatic, who's brilliant, brings the best out of his guests, can crack jokes, can be entertaining, can hold 3-hour-long conversations, doing everything that it takes, like a 5-tool player, to make a great podcast. And you see you don't have some of these qualities, you're maybe not as great, you know, maybe you look into the comments too much, you're a little mundane, you're a little slow, whatever. I could see how that could be insecurity. And for you, it's like maybe seeing them succeed, hits the heart a little bit. And I think, jealousy is one of the 7 sins. And I think it's something that people need to get over, and yeah, that's kind of just my rant, is that, I'm betting all my money. Chips are all in on the Julian Dory show. He's going to be the biggest one. I've been saying this for 2 years now, and I'm going to say it now. I'm just putting it live. But I just want to explain that he's doing things that are paradigm shifts in the podcast space. You guys have to check it out. His intros to his podcast are like none other. On top of it, his shorts that he makes for his podcast are none other. It's literally unique. And also, to the degree he edits, I've been in his editing room. I've been there and watched him edit. He is a psychopath with editing. He makes every cut so perfect that when I'm talking, and then let's say he talks, he makes it smooth. When he introduces an image, it's very subtle and it's nice. It's pleasing on the eye. All these things that, would take me hours and hours to explain, but he sets himself apart and he's doing everything he can. So, I'm a nobody. I'm making this video because I enjoy, building a community. I love, talking and saying what's on my mind and connecting with people. But if anyone who were watching this who could make an impact for this individual and had that power to, why wouldn't you? Don't you want to see other people win and succeed? I don't know. That's, to me, seems very obvious, but for other people, I guess it's not. So sometimes I just question being like, why do some people do this and that? So yeah, now I'm kind of rambling, but the biggest thing is give credit where it's due. It can impact people. It means a lot to people. It's like citing your sources. It just shows that, like, hey, I've got an idea from this person. It's helping me. Shout them out. I'm going to make my own version of the product, and we're all going to win here. But by not shutting them out, to me, that lowers your character. That doesn't give a good look. I'm not impressed by you. In fact, it shows a lot of your insecurity in who you are. So that's my rant for today. All in, the Julian Dory show. This is the Social League. Love you guys a ton. Yeah, give it a thought. All right, peace.